Hey everyone, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Jen, and welcome to Devilish Bookworms, the podcast.
where we read and review books and release episodes every Tuesday.
This week, we have A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah Maas.
Yay!
Freya is a 19-year-old female that has taken on the burden of taking care of her two sisters and her father, who has been injured. They have fallen upon hard times, and she is forced to hunt for food just for them to survive winter. Food is getting very scarce in their area, so she has wandered a little bit further than normal. They're on the verge of starving at this point, so she has no choice but to wait. And one night, while she is out hunting, she spots a deer in the clearing, and she is lining up her shot when she spots a large wolf. Well, she realizes that the size of the wolf is a bit abnormal, which could mean it is a fairy. But does she risk the chance that it is not a fairy? Or does she take the shot and not let her family starve? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun.
So, Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
what would you have done in the situation that she was in? Would you let your family starve or would you take the shot?
Is that really a question?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to know.
Why would you not take the shot? Starving to death?
Right.
Your option is starving to death.
Or kill something that may possibly be a fairy.
Who cares if you're starving to death? At this point in the story, they don't know. They have no idea what the consequences are. They don't know anything about anything. Like, who cares if it's a fairy?
Yep, I'm in the same boat. I would have taken the shot too. Well, she decides that she's going to kill the wolf before it kills the deer. That way she can have the deer for herself. So she and her family don't starve. She takes the shot and she doesn't let her family starve. Now, Rachel would take the shot because she does anything for anybody that she loves. Whatever it is, she's going to do it. She's going to get it done. I would take the shot because fuck it if it's a fairy. I'm hungry. I might even try to drag the wolf out and eat the fucking wolf. Who fucking knows?
You'd eat a fairy?
Oh, well, okay, but she didn't know if it was actually a fairy. But she skinned it. She skinned it alive. Or well, okay, it wasn't alive, but she skinned the fucking wolf. So I mean, I'm sorry, but she still did pretty fucked up things to a fairy, even though it was wolf form. But anyways, so it begs the question, would you do it if it was you in that position? And most people, I would say 8 out of 10 times would say, yeah, I would freaking shoot the wolf. It's kind of like a
Right.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
The repercussions of shooting that wolf was a little bit worse than she thought. She ended up, quote unquote, breaking a treaty between the humans and the fairies because she shot a fairy that was not trying to harm her. So now she has a choice to stay with her family and die right then and there, or she goes with the fairy that has come to collect her debt and she has to forever live in the spring court. Well, she chose to save her family, obviously. Again, she's made the choice to save her family. But where it goes from there is the adventure where it takes twists and turns and all of the above. So, did you like the book?
So this is one of my favorite instances because I did enjoy reading the book, and I know that you very much did not enjoy reading the book. And I kind of want to start by saying, I know that we said it last week in the podcast, that we don't normally do really big books because of the fact that everyone does them. And like, I feel weird about the idea of like, small little independent us doing a book. Like, why would we promote a book that doesn't need any promotions, especially this, a book such as this, or like Fourth Wing or something like that, because of the fact that it needs no marketing, it needs no help, it doesn't need anything to get out there. But I feel like it's kind of a good baseline to kind of to see the differences in how I would, react to a very popular book versus how Jen would react to a very popular book, it kind of gives you an idea of like what we enjoy reading. That way you can kind of take it into consideration when we say something. It's not just like I like it, I don't like it. It's like, oh, Jen hated this really popular book, so maybe because I also hated this really popular book, I might like books that she recommends more. So I kind of like the idea that we did a really popular book this week because it kind of gives us a baseline. In this instance, I did enjoy reading the book, and Jen very much did not enjoy reading the book. Now, I won't say, like, not that I don't get the hype. No, it was kind of hyped up way more than it should have been. But this is also the first book, and there's a ton of them. So I do want to see what the other books bring. But I liked it. It wasn't a 10 out of 10. It wasn't an 8 out of 10. It was like a 7 out of 10.
I wouldn't even give it that.
No. You'd give it like a 4.
3. 3 out of 10. I'm sorry, but this book was not only repetitive, it was redundant. The grammar in there was, there was certain parts I literally stopped and I screamed, why the fuck would you say that? And then, like, it happened 3 more times in the book, and I was like, who fucking taught you grammar? Because I want to smack them. I'm sorry, but loosed a breath? Oh, I loosed a breath? Excuse the fuck out of me? I did not loosed a breath. Loosed, a breath, okay? No, I lost a breath. I lose my breath, but I did not loosed my breath. Oh, I've been waiting 3 days to say that.
Could that have been an instance? Because I actually did not catch that. Could that have been an instance where it was a typo, maybe?
No, it was like 4 times in the book. It was not a typo. And every time I fucking highlight it and I'd say, why? Why the fuck would you use lose a breath, lost a breath, losing breath, like anything, breathless, breathy? I don't fucking care. Use something else. It is not losed a breath. Okay. I'm sorry. Like I said, that it's been 3 days.
Wow.
3 days I've been waiting to get that off my chest, and I've had no one say it to that would understand.
Yeah, it was evident very early on that I enjoyed this book and you didn't. So we made sure that we did not talk about this book, like until now.
Except for my comments of why am I reading this?
That was so funny.
Okay, I understand that this is a very popular book, and I understand there are going to be differences of opinions, but in my opinion, when you're writing a book, you sit there, you think out the whole thing. You've had a well thought out process of what you're going to write. So tell me why there is a monster that is invisible. If you look at him, it can kill you. So if you don't look at it,
blah, that one was so creepy to me.
But explain to me how it can't be killed if it's acknowledged. Like, to me, it's not unkillable. Because once you acknowledge it, you have a chance to kill it if you're quick enough.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, they just say, oh, it's unkillable. No, it's not.
Maybe it was just an instance of, because I mean, it does get killed. So maybe it was just an instance of nobody knew how to kill it because as soon as they acknowledged it, they died, except for the person who kills it. Like, it's very killable.
So Tamlin is the only one that can apparently kill it. So therefore, it's still not unkillable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that there in itself.
No one said it was unkillable.
They say it's unkillable. Like, hold on.
Where? Because Lucian says that Tamlin is the one that would have to do it. People, this is why receipts are important.
Okay, so here we go. I will grind your bones between my claws. I will drink your marrow. I will feast on your flesh. I am what you fear. I am what you dread. Look at me. Look at me. I love that. Okay, that is probably the only fucking part of this book I actually loved. That was good. That was so good.
It was so creepy.
But it was a creature that should not be in these lands. We call it a bog. You cannot hunt it and you cannot kill it, even with your beloved ash arrows.
I will concede because I mean, you can hunt it if you know whereabouts it is. Maybe he meant she couldn't.
It might have been that she couldn't, but the way that it reads is no one can kill it. You can't hunt it, you can't kill it, you can only acknowledge it, and when you acknowledge it, it can kill you.
That's not how I read it. I read it different. It's ambiguous enough to where it could still be misconstrued. I get what you're saying.
Yes.
That's one of the things that I loved about the book was that there were so many different kinds of fae. And it wasn't just like a one trick pony where it was like, this is what a fairy is. It was like, fairies across the world are so different. So fairies in this fictional world are so different. I thought that was cool. And I thought it was cool the way they were used too.
Oh, absolutely. I will give her credit where credit is due. All right. The way she wrote the fairies, fine. The way that they looked, they acted, that was great. The different courts was great.
Mm-hmm.
But there was so many loose ends for me, like the whole sickness. All right. So sickness takes the land in the fairy realm, and it's screwing with the magic of the lands. That's the best way I can put it without giving anything away.
Mm-hmm.
But how does the sickness that messes with magic affect the human world? How does that make sense that if it affects magic, how is it going to affect a non-magic realm?
I can explain it to you, but it would be hella spoilers.
And I was like, make it make sense, because that does not make sense.
Because they never said it was a sickness. They said it's a blight. And the blight is Amarantha.
Well, they actually do say it's a sickness at one point. I
Did they say it or did she say it?
Let's see.
Because there's a lot of things that are said that they say so one of the things obviously with the fairy world is like they twist and turn their words, right? So like there were some times that I went back because I was like, wait, no. And then it was like, oh no, they never said that. She said it. And it was like, well, she would say that because that was her understanding of the situation, but that's not what they said.
So he does say it's a blight, all right? But then she asks, what sort of sickness is it? And he goes, it's not a disease, not a plague or an illness. It's focused solely on magic and those dwelling in Perithian.
Right.
That is when my brain went, well, if it's something that solely is focused on magic, how is it going to affect the human realm?
I understand where you're coming from, but it's kind of like, to me, that's one of those things where it's like it was meant to mislead you.
See, and I'm like, I understand where they were coming from now. What I'm bringing up is obviously very trivial at this point, but it made me dislike the book a little at a time, and a little things add up.
Sure, absolutely. No, and I'm not, you know me, like I can debate without becoming upset. Like you don't like the book, that's totally fine. Like it's not like it's the Vampire Lestat to me or anything, you know what I mean? But like I was reading it as a mystery, and to me that's what mysteries do, you know what I mean? Like because she didn't know what was going on. This is a world that she had never been there before. She didn't know anything about the people or the culture or anything. And so like when you're going into something, to me, and you don't know anything about anything, to me that's the same thing as reading like a murder mystery or something. Like no one's reliable, you can't trust what anyone says, and it's not necessarily like that's why it was written that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it, but it just like, because it was so often, and it just bothered me personally. There was a lot of things that bothered me about this. Like most of it was the repetitiveness. it was like you're leeching as you lurched, and she would say something and then say it all over again.
Leeching as you lurched.
My blood froze as a creeping, leeching cold lurched by. And I'm like, excuse me?
That's amazing.
When I told you, I sat there and I'm highlighting things and I'm like, why? Why is this? And like the part with the bog, I literally wrote, this is the best writing. Like
yeah.
that was my favorite part of this book.
I'm gonna say something, and I hope you understand, and I hope everyone else understands what I mean when I say it, because I'm not coming from a place of like judgy McJudgerson, you know, but there's different kinds of books, there's different kinds of writing. But I enjoyed this book in the way that I enjoyed like Twilight. Like in that I enjoyed reading it. I thought it was really cute. It was really sweet, especially after all of the different kinds of like, you know, like dark romances and all that we've been reading. I was happy to read a book where it was kind of like light and fluffy, for lack of a better term. Like I loved him, you know, as like an MMC. You know, there was such a slow burn, little payoff. But yes.
Little payoff. I'm sorry. I've got to stop you there real quick. Okay, people, slow burn doesn't even freaking cut it. All right. There was barely even a sizzle.
Yeah, but I liked how he at first was like trying to court her, and then she was not about it, and then he was like, fine, whatever, you'll find me when you want me, you know what I mean? Which because I related so much to the character, I liked it. You know, it was like sweet where he was like not pushy. It wasn't a love at first sight thing. It was like she was very hesitant, very, very against even talking to him or looking at him. And then it was like he built her trust literally by not trying, which I like.
So I'm going to say a thing, and please don't take offense to it.
Me?
Yes. I can never see you as this character. You are not a fucking whiny little pushover bitch.
She was so whiny.
I've never wanted to fucking smash a character's face through a book in my life worse than this one. I'm not gonna get into the hottest take that I'm going to later on. But she sat there like, I want to go home. I want to go home. And he's like, leave. Then go. Leave. Like,
bye.
Like, and she sat there and like fucking pouted. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're going to leave, then fucking go. Like, don't sit there and say, I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave, and fucking stay. Like, what?
I just spit.
I have been waiting for this. And when you said that you related to her, and I'm like, no, because you're not like that. You might whine when you're sick. I will give that to you. When you're hurt and you're sick, you whine. And I still love you for it. But you would never go to this fucking level of whininess and little fucking bitchness that this chick did. You would never bow down the way that this bitch bowed down. No, you're better than this fucking character ever will be.
Well, what I meant by that was like we've seen in books instances where the female character was so hesitant to even warm up a little bit to anyone. But this, to me, this is the hardest I've seen anyone resist. Like she, for a good, it was literally, there was a quote, one of the quotes that I liked, it says, he actually grinned, the High Lord of the Spring Court. And it's the first time in 146 pages that she allowed him to be nice to her. And it was like that one little bit, like her allowing him to be nice to her made him so happy. And that's why I loved that bit. But it was like 100, we have never seen anyone hold out for 146 pages. And she was like, nope.
And it's totally fine to hold out. I have no issues with that. But don't whine about it.
Yeah, she was wicked whiny.
Yeah, I just, oh God, nope.
It was almost like she could have, like, instead of being, and this maybe this is an age thing, because to me it's like what would have been more beneficial would be like, okay, this is where we are now. This is the instances in which we find ourselves. How can we use this to our biggest advantage? But like, she didn't do that. She was just like, this sucks. Everything sucks. You're dumb. And I hate this. And I'm my family. Meh. Whereas, like, I know that you and I would have been like crafty and been like, okay, and not to, compare us to a fictional character, but we would have been like, okay, how do we take our situation and see if we can change? And she didn't even listen to words that they were speaking. Like he was trying to tell her things and she was just so resistant that she wasn't even listening to the things she would, like, no questions were asked. No, like, no, I get it. That was frustrating.
It really was. And to me, like, her character just got more obnoxious as the time went on, because yes, they're at very slow burn, very long time for them to warm up to each other, which is fine. I understand that. It takes a lot to get used to me and me to get any bit open to anybody else.
Mhm.
So absolutely understand that. I respect not wanting to put yourself out there and get her or any of that. I understand. But you also make the best of your situation. You do better. You do better.
Do better.
That's I'm trying to be nice about it. She gave up. She didn't try at all. She whined about it the whole entire time. And then when she finally was starting to get her way, she was like being fine and all that. But even still, like, I still wanted to smack her for being a little fucking whiny hoe.
Now, Jen, I have a question because we have done fairy books before in the pod. We have done court books before, and I know that there's a huge trend right now of court/fairy books.
Okay.
Now, we have on the pod done another episode where in the book, female main character had to go through trials in order to survive or whatever. Is this something that you see as kind of played out? And I almost feel like I believe Akatar came before a lot of these other books, and it was kind of like a I don't know that. I don't know that as fact actually, but I think so. Is it something that you would be like interested in reading again, or is it kind of like at this point just kind of like blah?
I have no problems with fairies. I have no problems with trials. I believe that life in itself is a huge trial. So obviously, in a book, trials to overcome something is acceptable, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But would I ever read this book again? No.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would I read other books that are along the same concept? Yes, absolutely. So while we were on a slate break, Rachel decided to do some Googling and deemed that loosed a breath is technically grammatically correct. I will die on this motherfucking hill. It is still not right. But I was wrong. I will admit when I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong. In a sense, is so I was wrong, but I'll die on that hill. No. Don't use it.
I totally get it. I totally get
Tim would lose to breath. No, he didn't. He lost his breath.
loose. I mean, maybe it sounds more.
No, it sounds more fucking moronic. I am dyslexic and I am not 100% articulate when it comes to words, but I will die on that grammar hill right there. That is not a fucking proper term. And any English teacher, if I would have wrote that in a paper, would have been like, that's not it. That's not the phrase. That is not how that works. And they would have fucking corrected me. So I will die on that hill. I'm sorry, Sarah.
So Jen, you and I read a lot of romance books, and we're in a lot of communities with a lot of people who read romance books, whether it's whatever flavor of romance that is, whether it's really spicy, no, not spicy at all, cute, sweet romance, all kinds of things. And I was looking at the book, and it's something that I've noticed through a few different books, and from things that people have commented online and things like that. And if I was a man and I was looking at the attributes of these, book boyfriends, these dreamy men, I would be a little confused, because a lot of these men have attributes that we think of as undesirable, or as, like a lot of them are broody and angry and moody, and, a lot of them are prone to violence or things like that. And I was wondering what you thought of in terms of, why is it okay for, and I have my own answer, but why do we seek these things out in male main characters in books? Whereas if we saw it in real life, it would be something that was kind of like, ooh, like taken aback, like, I don't want this. Red flags, if you will.
I think what it is the bad boy effect kind of situation. Everybody wants a bad boy until they get the bad boy. And I say it like that because of the fact of some of the toxic traits that come along with the quote unquote bad boy. All right. So the anger and all that. I think it's just something that we're always told we shouldn't want. And we find the need to somehow rebel. And this is the way that we can rebel without actually needing to go down that path. This is our way out. This is our way around the situation of having to be the person in that situation that's being abused or something along that line. Or just not abused, but just around that toxicity. And we can just read about it and just get enough of what we want to not actually want it in real life.
So it kind of like holds you over.
But yeah, because I mean, let someone try to tell me what the fuck to do. I I dare them, especially after what I've been through. I dare them. You tell me, woman, come here. I'm gonna laugh in your face, or I might just throw something at you. It's just not gonna work out for you. Now, if there's certain things that I would deem acceptable, and I'd be like, oh well, come here. But I mean, there's a fine line, and I think that even with the books, there's a fine line between what someone could want and someone would allow in their personal realm. And not everybody's comfortable with the same thing. So I mean, each book is different for each person. Just like, this book wasn't for me because it wasn't enough of a romance. But for other people, they're going to be like swooning for it. Oh, it was so good. And, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It's personal preference. So with each book, personal preference takes a play in it. So we want these book boyfriends, but we just don't need them. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
I do get what you're saying. It's kind of like that, like there's something that's kind of like primal that we are looking for, but this is a safe way to experience it.
Exactly.
That actually, it's very much kind of my thought process as well. I think that a lot of these boyfriend type deals, the male main characters that we're looking at, I think the biggest thing is the fact that there's active listening and communication. There's times when, not every male feels that they're listened to or that they're heard, and not every female feels like they're listened to and that they're heard. And I think that books are very good at having both, you know, like your female main character is, sure, she's a badass and she's wielding a sword and she's doing all these things, but there's almost always a lesson of who have you let take care of you, or who has taken care of you. You're so strong, you do all these things, but who does these things for, who's the safe space for you? You know, the male characters, they do have all of these things, they have these traits where it's like the anger and the violence and the, you know, but it's never aimed toward them. And if it is aimed towards the female main character, then it's in a different light. You know, it's like there's aggression there, but it's more of a romantic or like a sexual tension aggression. And there's communication. They listen. You know, you'll go through chapters where she's not explaining what she wants, but at the second that she does, then he listens and he's there. When she finally explains what she wants to him, then he feels comforted and, you know, taken care of in a way that he's never been before. I think that we read these books because we do want those things, we do want those aspects, but like you said, it's not safe in the real world, because if I don't communicate precisely, then things will be taken out of context, or things would be, you know, misconstrued, or, you know, you asked for it.
Exactly. And we've both been down a path of having a toxic relationship, but none of those things we asked for. Like, and in the books, like, we can ask for it.
It's the whole communication aspect. In a book, if a male main character is flying off the handle and the female's not okay with it, she'll say something along the lines of like, hey, this isn't okay, or she'll react a certain way, and then he'll be like, oh, gotcha, this isn't okay, or vice versa. Like, he'll be like, hey, you need to stop being like this because of XYZ, and then she'll be like, oh, that's right. It's just that it's that understanding and treating people as equals. To me, that is treating people as equal. It's taking people's thoughts and feelings and wants into consideration.
And unfortunately, I think as humans, we often don't do that. And I think that's the biggest issue, and why there's that disconnect between book romance and real romance. And even in the book, and okay, so there's going to be a spoiler alert right now, because what I'm going to say next will give some things away. But this is where it like reality versus book. She is being told she needs to be sent home because it is safe for her there. And he can't keep her safe if she stays. And she goes. She leaves and goes home to her family and stays there for a while. Okay. If that was reality, if I was this character, there would be no way you would get me to leave the side of someone I loved.
Mm-hmm.
If they are in danger, then I am in danger. I don't give a shit. I'm kicking and screaming and crawling my way out of the situation. I will not leave that person. There is not a fucking chance in hell I would ever turn my back knowing that I'm leaving someone to possibly die if I love them. I will be by their side back to back. I don't care how much you dislike the fact that I'm not safe, but if you're not safe, then I'm not safe. There is no fucking where you could send me that I would not fucking come running back to help you if I love you. And she fucking went, willingly went. And not only did she do that, but he sat there and said, I love you. As she was fucking leaving, she said nothing. She looked away from him.
I know. I thought I was like, why wouldn't you have said it? Why?
Even if she did actually love him or wanted to hurt him, why would you leave someone broken like that? Knowing that they're fighting for their life, why would you break them before you can leave? You love them? No, the fuck you don't, because not only did you leave, but you broke them before you left, and then you went for weeks without them being by your side. And then you go, oh, I love him. I need to go back to him. Fuck you, bitch. You did not fall in love or have any sort of love for that man, because if you did, you wouldn't have left to begin with. Even if he convinced you to leave, you would have been back there sooner. You wouldn't have left without saying, I love you, if you really love them. I'm sorry. Whew.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard Ride or Die Jennifer.
Literally. Like,
literally.
I don't understand. Like, I when I love fucking with everything I've got. So when I say I love Rachel, like literally I will be on a plane if something happens. I don't give a shit what kind of situation it is, what I have to do to get there. I will be there. And I don't care if I'm bloodied by the time I get there, but I'm going to fight by this bitch's side. I don't care.
Oh my God, I love you.
The fact that this bitch gave up so easily just made me hate this book even more. That was the last straw. That was the fucking last straw. You literally just said that you love this man. No, the fuck you didn't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have ever done anything that you did to this man before you fucking left. And then you go crawling back into danger saying that you love him so much that you'll die for him. Bitch, you should have been dying with him beforehand. Ugh. Okay. I'm done. I'm over.
You make me so happy.
Literally, I like you should see the note that I have on that section when she says she loves him. I lost it. I literally lost it. I threw my phone down because I happened to be reading on my phone at the time instead of the Kindle. And I was like, no, this bitch did not. She did not just say she loved him. Whew. I take love very seriously, people.
Yes, you do.
Wow.
Speaking of love, do you love any characters? Do you have a favorite character?
Okay, so if I was to choose anybody, it would probably be Lucian.
Yep.
He was that mischievous guy, always making sure he poked and prodded when he could. And he was bluntly honest. He told her that she was a garbage human. And I loved every bit of that.
Cracked me up.
What are you gonna stab me in the back? Well, go ahead then.
I know what was it when he gave her the knife, he said it's yours, just don't bury it in my back, please. I was like, ooh.
That's the kind of spice like I expect from a faerie, but at the same time, anybody that is like us, that's what I expect.
Yeah, I get that.
And I'm sorry, Lucian was more ride or die than this bitch was.
I know, I love Lucian. I'm a big Tamlin fan.
Okay.
Because he's very much like Prince Adam from Beauty and the Beast, and you know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan of him. Plus, it was literally just like the I'm wooing you. You don't like it? Okay, you can come to me. Oh man, I was so here for that. So yeah, the author does have a website, sarahjmaas.com. That's sarahjmaas.com. Now you have all the tools to decide whether or not she is the author for you. Jen, she is not the author for Jen.
Nope.
Would you be interested in reading the other books in this series or the other books
Nope.
that she has out?
Nope. I'm conceding to this point. Nope. I will pass. And it's just like Rachel said, it's not for me. I know quite a few people that really enjoyed the series, and that's fine. I just am not one of them. I will gladly go back to reading Master of Salt and Bones, and then I will hop on the Fourth Wing and see how that goes.
It was, like I said, it was I didn't hate it. It was enjoyable in terms of like compared to other things like Twilight or whatever. I don't know. That's just the best thing that I can compare it to. But my TBR is huge.
Yeah, I hear you.
So go ahead and if you would tell everyone what we're reading next week.
Next week. Ooh, I don't want to get too excited.
We've been burned by you before.
I've been burned the last 2 fucking weeks. I just like so next week we are reading The Hollows, a Victorian Gothic crime mystery by C.L. Moynihan. And this is book 1 in her series. So I actually really am excited about this. It sounded really good. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, anything that's like dark, spooky, creepy, mysterious, you could basically sign us up.
I mean, especially London in the 1800s. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Bye.